Hello and welcome back to hersport.ie, Ireland's only media platform dedicated to women in sport.
Today we are welcoming Eimear Considine to the Her Sport Show, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on, what's coming up, and you've been very busy with training at the moment.
Yeah, so happy that we get to train. You know, like there's so many teams out there that aren't able to train or aren't able to, you know, collectively train. Like, yes, everyone is doing their own little bit on their own and individually gym sessions and training on their own and running on their own. But we're very lucky that we get to be busy. And I'm pretty lucky that my life has been almost normal because I'm a teacher. So I was back to work in September as normal. And then we were training, you know, for the rescheduled Six Nations last year. And then obviously we were hoping to have Six Nations this year, so we were still training, and then that got postponed. And finally, we have some games in the calendar.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant, and I think everybody's looking forward to the Six Nations to kick off. Obviously, from your perspective, it's to play, but I think there's a lot of spectators and fans ready to get stuck into the action.
Yeah, like I know it's not the same and we won't have fans there and we won't have spectators at the game, but like I think everyone is just dying for a little bit of live sport at the moment. And even a guy in work, I was FaceTiming my sister Gaeilge the other day in work, and a guy from work was like, he went on, he's like, Gaeilge, just thanks so much. The AFW on TG is like keeping me entertained because there's so little other live sport on. So it really will be great for our supporters and our families to finally see us play. But yeah, getting back on the field after such a long period of time. I know personally my last game of rugby full stop was against England last year in Doncaster in the Nations. So like it has been over a full year since I've played a game. I know the girls had Six Nations in November, and obviously a lot of the English girls or the girls in England have been playing in the UK with their clubs and that. But like I think we've done like 30 weekends of camp in the last year, like we've been allowed, and it's like, yeah, I love training, like I really do. And like, you know, there comes a point where you're like, just give me a game to play, and we are excited to have the Six Nations like in the calendar.
Yeah, I guess let's go back to the start a little bit and tell us about your journey in sport and then your progression to obviously playing international rugby.
So I'm from Kilmahill in West Clare, like a Gaelic football stronghold. So obviously grew up playing that, and I have one brother and one sister who, you know, we live in the middle of nowhere, so like your only entertainment was really just to kick around with each other. So from that, I suppose, is where I got my interest in sport. I really wasn't much good at it. Like they always tell stories of me like being scared of the ball and not wanting to go to like summer camp, but I had to go because Gaelish was going. So I don't think I was originally sporty, which is funny because I am obviously now. But like we played everything underage. Like if there was gymnastics on in the village, we did it. If there was volleyball on, we did it. If there was, we did athletics from a young age as well. So whatever was on, you know, we did. Or similarly, if the All-Ireland hurling final was on, you were gone outside at halftime kicking around or pucking around. If Wimbledon was on, you had made your own little
tennis court.
You made your tennis court, and you were painting the grass, and you had your paint cans and your planks of wood as your net. Like, you know, we were really creative. So like whatever it was, we were lucky that we had each other to play. And then just took up camogie from there. And I suppose my athletics career kind of had to take a backseat then, because I got to a stage where I had to, if I wanted to be serious, I was just in a juvenile club, and if I really wanted to progress through like under 18s and senior level, I would have had to have new clubs. But then I was like, no, I really love Gaelic and camogie, so I said I'd stick them. So there came a stage in my life where I was doing camogie and football for Clare for under 16s and minors and seniors, and it was just really busy. And you know, it was great while you're young and while you didn't have to travel and that. But then when I moved to Dublin, I was teaching up here and traveling down on Friday for a camogie training, and then you'd have like a match on a Saturday, whether it was football, and then Sunday you'd have another match, and then you just traipse up back up the road again and do it all over again. And you know, you've no schoolwork done, you've no rest got, you've no life essentially. So yeah, like I did that for a little bit, but then rugby just came knocking out of the blue. Like I didn't plan it. I wasn't a rugby fan. Yes, I watched a lot of it and would have supported Munster rugby growing up because they were very successful, winning Heineken Cups and the likes. But like I didn't even know women could play rugby. This was how, like, I'd never been to a rugby game. I'd never seen a women's rugby game. I watched, I think, the 2013 Grand Slam on the TV, and I was really surprised to see that women played rugby because I didn't know of it prior to that. So I never saw myself, some people say I grew up wanting to play rugby for my country. Like I didn't have that dream. I had a dream of playing for my country, going to the Olympics, but that was more so in athletics than in rugby. And like I wasn't that good at athletics. I was decent, but like I wasn't Olympic. It was a dream somewhere. And I never thought putting the green of Ireland on would be representing rugby, of all the sports I played. So got started with the sevens, did that for a few years, and then took a break from that, and then got called up onto the 15 squad. And like it's a journey I never planned. So some things you can't plan, but I definitely didn't plan this journey and where it has taken me. And yeah, really, really exciting journey from kicking a football around in West Clare.
Talk to us a little bit about the sevens. Obviously there's 5 new faces in the squad that have all come from sevens, and you've made that transition yourself. How different is sevens and 15s, and what skills do you transfer onto the pitch with 15s?
Yeah, it's great to see the sevens girls in. They've been in more with us this year now than any other year, which is really, really good. But it is completely different, and I never realised it. And obviously coming from never playing rugby to sevens rugby, and then onto 15s, I saw like huge changes and things that people take for granted. But like something as simple as like in sevens, if there's a line out, you've got one winger, it's on the open side. In 15s, there's a blindside winger, and I was like, what the hell does a blindside winger do in a line out? Like I genuinely had no idea. When they said go on the wing, I was like, what does one do on the blindside? Completely different game. Sevens is about exploiting the space that you have, whereas in 15s there's so little space. It's about your running lines and manipulating defenders and attacks. And I suppose, yeah, it's completely different. And the tactical side of things as well, in sevens there wouldn't be that much territory kicking or kicking to touch for lineouts. It's quick taps. It's really, really, it's only 7 minutes long. It's a killer. Like it's so hard to play. But again, it's the same skills. Playing sevens was great to start with because it developed my basic fundamentals of rugby, my tackling, my rucking, my passing, all those basic skills. So like I was glad to start with the sevens at such a high level, getting coached by top quality, top class coaches, learning skills from the best and playing with the best to start with. So I was really, really lucky, but it was definitely a really difficult transition, from football to sevens and then from sevens to 15s.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that's worked out for you anyway.
Yeah, like it really has. I suppose that that's the one thing about rugby is that if you look at the majority of us, we haven't played rugby from grassroots level, and a lot of us on the squad have come from other sports and have come from, whether it's basketball, soccer, camogie football, there's such a crossover, and, being athletic and having hand-eye coordination and evasion skills do cross over. And I think that's, there's a lot of us that are proof to the pudding of that. But then you look at the likes of Judy, Bobbit and Dorothy Wall and Baven and like even Leah, like they've played rugby since they were like able to play rugby. They're so lucky. And I was like, you have years more rugby played than I have. Like they've had a rugby ball in their hands for years, and I only took it up when I was 24, 25. So, the future is so bright for Irish rugby, and the fact that there is that opportunity for young girls to play rugby, and they see us playing rugby, and they see us, like week in, week out on Six Nations on RTE, watching us. And I suppose it's something that we didn't have, is the visibility when we were growing up of a lot of female athletes. And I often speak about my lack of female athletes when I was growing up. My cousins played football for Clare, and we used to travel around the country supporting them, and they were my heroes. Like I have a book of pictures with them, and I have like autograph books of like Clare ladies footballers in 2000s. Like these are our role models. But I think it's because there wasn't very many others out there. I think Sonia Sullivan was probably the only one that made it the top. But again, she was on TV because she won. But what about the other girls that didn't win? There are so many athletes out there that just because you don't win a gold medal doesn't mean they're a silver medal in the Olympics. Doesn't mean you don't warrant TV time or airtime. That's changed, and that has completely changed now. And I feel finally there is, whatever sport you want to play, you can find a female role model, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, tell us about, being a teacher and being a role model for your students. Like, how have you kind of taken that into your role?
They don't see it that way. They see me as Miss Considine, and they think it's mad when someone, like even the last day, they were like, one of my friends said there was like a famous teacher in your school and they couldn't figure out who it was. Like they just don't see it that way. And I was like, well, I wouldn't say famous, like maybe appear on TV every so often, but like, you know, for young girls, I suppose when it's in front of you, they don't really see it like that. But I suppose little things like at the moment we've implemented the Leaving Cert PE curriculum as an exam subject. How lucky are they? I would have loved that in school.
Yeah, same.
Oh, it's a dream. It's so good. And you know what? It's so relatable to their lives and my life. And I'm coming in excited because we're doing like a Bronco test and they're like obviously not excited about a fitness test, but I'm like, look, this is what we do. You know, I'm going to base your fitness plan around our scores and like the algorithm that we use to calculate our scores and our distances, and even in relation to like, you know, your recovery patterns, like this is what we do in the Irish squad. And it's really, I think they see it being done and it's real life examples. And I think that's just one example of LPE, but there's so many examples that like, you know, having female role models, whether it's rugby or whatever, it doesn't have to be, it can be even just be like, you know, a science teacher. Like I want to be a science teacher like her because she's a science teacher in a, you know, STEM obviously traditionally would have been a male orientated world, the science and technology and maths and that. So like, it's not just about sports role models. I think, you know, there's a lot of role models and it's changing the perceptions of that. And we actually had a course recently about, you know, gender bias in our subject areas, and you don't even realize it, but when you're using examples like, oh, Johnny Sexton kicked the ball over the bar, it's like, no, why not Ellen Murphy kicked the ball over the bar? Why not Hannah Taylor kick the ball over the bar? Like, I think we need to change our perceptions and use the female role models, or like even in like English, if you're talking about an author, talk about an English author. And like, there's so much responsibility on us across our subjects to promote females across the board in our subjects. And I think it's easy to find the male examples. We just have to look a little bit harder to find the female examples. But yeah, like I'm in a good position. They might listen to me all the time, but at least I'm there. And I actually teach with the girl who plays, who's captain of Down Camogie team this year, Karen, and you know, she's another role model. And we're so lucky that we have people like her as well in different sports. And yeah, like they mightn't listen to us, but we're there. And we're trying to promote it, and we're trying to promote women in sport. The 2020 campaign was really actually strong last year, and we had a few girls that entered into the Young Scientist competition, or the PE Expo, based on participation rates in females and that. And I'm lucky that I teach an all girls school, so it is particularly important.
Yeah, definitely. I know you're saying they may not listen to you all the time, but even just being around, and obviously you're able to like show them what you do and that type of thing, whether they realize it or not, there is an impact on their life because that normality is there for them. So they will have a different experience to lots of other students around the country that don't have the same exposure. So at some point they will appreciate it. And I mean, it's definitely great to see that there's you know, the opportunity to make it normal for at least some students around the country. In relation to the dropout of girls in sport, like, do you see that in school? And like, I know when I was in school, particularly as I headed towards Leaving Cert, like the amount of girls that just like didn't do PE and just kind of were like, oh no, you know, I've got my period today or whatever, like coming up with different excuses to kind of sit out. And like, look, not everybody enjoys sport, or I know, you know, PE teachers have tried to bring in different types of, you know, sport and fitness, you know, whether it's games or activities or whatever it is to engage students. But what have you kind of experienced?
Yeah, I think I'm very lucky that I'm in a really forward-thinking department in my school personally, that we actually do junior cycle PE as a short course. So it's examined in junior cycle and it's also examined as a Leaving Cert subject here. So like there is a strong emphasis on it. So it's not the DOS subject that traditionally would have been looked at, you know, where they're pulled out of PE to do extra maths, or they'll be pulled out of PE to do something like that. There is, I suppose, a strong element of learning and education on it, which is really, really great. And I suppose that's the importance of PE at junior cycle. Like when you start that serious in first and second year, it continues on to fourth year, fifth year, and sixth year. And I think we're very lucky that we do have PE for all, and we encourage it for all. And it's very much, you know, it's very much the majority of them will do it. And yes, of course, there's excuses and there's notes, and yes, there is always those ones, but the majority of them will do it. And I think it's just building a relationship as well. And especially with senior cycle, I think there's a lot more choice available, and there has to be a lot more choice available. What we brought in with them this year is that they can wear their own gym clothes to PE, just to incentivize like coming to PE. So they're wearing their own leggings and they're wearing their own tops and that, which is, something nice as well, that they feel comfortable taking part in PE, but it's only for senior cycles, so they feel a little bit special for that. And then also there's the element of choice that we're blocked at the one time with all like the fifth years are on together. So I might take I don't know, athletics to do with one class, and then another teacher will take like whatever yoga, another teacher will take fitness, and then they have a choice if they want to go to. So like there is an element of choice in it there as well. And like I always say, like I hate dance and gymnastics. Like I'm giving me a ball, I'm fine. I'll do it all day long. And it's similar, I said, in like Irish, like you might hate doing the poetry, you might hate doing the listening, but like at the end of the day, like you have to do it and you have to suck it up, and eventually there will be an element that you love and you'll eventually get to that. So in PE, I love basketball, I love volleyball, rounders, whatever, and I wouldn't be as comfortable in dance. But when it comes to the girls who love dance, they're flipped that. They don't like playing contact sports. And I think the most important thing we do is try and have like a curriculum that allows everyone to at least have one good thing they enjoy, or one thing that they are good at, that they feel like they're good at. So like you're never going to please everybody and you're never going to have everyone involved. But I think I hope the last year hasn't had a negative effect in participation in females, and I do think it will, and we will see the negative effects of it, especially as a teacher. Your first years and second years are always so keen to play sport and sign up, and you almost have to do trials with first years because you can only have a certain amount of numbers on a team, like you can't bring them all, and they've missed out on that first year and almost a second year of trials for sport. And it's always harder to get them out in third year and fourth year, and fifth and sixth year just tends to be the really dedicated girls that have stuck by the 5 years of sport. And I feel we'll have a gap in a few years where we won't have fifth and sixth years playing sport because they won't have got into the habit of playing and coming training with those, building relationships with us as coaches, even like the fun days out, or figuring out that going to games like this is school, going to games, you might get to go to McDonald's afterwards on the way home if we win. Like those little things, they won't have had those fun, enjoyable moments. And I'm just fearful that in a few years' time the COVID pandemic will have kind of, where a lot of girls were on the fringes of playing sport, that they might just take a step back, because what, it's easier to step back than go on a Zoom call and do your fitness training, or it's easier just to not turn on the laptop. And I understand, like, they're sick of screens, like we all are sick of screens, and the last thing you want to do is exercise on a screen as well. So I really hope that sport can come back eventually. And for I think the developing ages, the girls and boys who are, and not just girls, I'm saying girls because I teach them, but girls and boys I feel like on the verge of dropping out will probably have taken a step back these days, and I hope it comes back very soon so the participation numbers will go back up again, and there won't be that gap.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something that we kind of are wondering about as well. And like you're saying, hopefully we will see people coming back into sport. And I know maybe it could go the complete opposite direction, where people have just been so sick of being inside and doing, like you're saying, Zoom fitness classes, that they might actually be like, oh, I just want to get back to doing whatever sport that it is. But tell me a little bit about PE as a subject now, because obviously things have changed. So if you're not doing PE for Leaving Cert, do you still have to take PE as a class?
Yeah, so there's LCPE like biology or geography or like your history as an option. So it's blocked with all the option subjects, but then they also get their fun non-exam PE class. So the girls that do LCPE have exam subject PE 5 times a week, and then a double. So they get 7 classes of PE a week on the timetable.
Class.
Unreal. So good. So it's they're probably sick of me, the fact that they see me 7 times a week, but it's great. Yeah, it's really good. And then on the short course, it's kind of up to each school whether they want to take it as well. Similarly with their PE, not every school can teach it or can bring it in or have the facilities or the technology involved in it. But we do the short course as well, which is just what we're doing anyway. It's just almost just assessed. So you do your gymnastics and then you assess their routine, and instead of it just being like an assessment where I tell you got this result, it's just recorded and documented really, and that's just across the board. So it's trying to just, I suppose, build on, give them a little bit of understanding before they head into Leaving Cert PE.
I wasn't sure actually if you were still teaching, because obviously you've been busy with Punditry and some other things going on as well. But what is the workload like in relation to training and balancing that with work?
Yeah, people always say that. They're like, "What? You're still teaching?" I was like, "Yeah, a great Google Calendar is what gets me by, to be honest, because there's reminders going off every second to remind me that I have to be somewhere or do something. It's busy, like it is definitely busy. And I think COVID has had its benefits for me in relation to like my punditry and like hosting side of things, because, well, it's like this, it's a Zoom call, I can do this. It makes it a lot more like, instead of having to go into the city or go somewhere to host an event, I can do it from my room in between classes. I can work around my calendar. And because obviously we're still in, half out, just 5th and 6th years are in school at the moment. My junior classes are all online. So you wouldn't do like 5 days a week online classes. It's just too much, and you can't expect to get them all online at that time anyway. So there's days that I will be freer at the moment. So it like, even though I am busy, I'm back to work and we're still training away, there's a little bit more flexibility my Monday to Friday, whereas with teaching before, like you're in 9 to 4 and there's really no flexibility with it. And then our training routine is, so this week we're in tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday. So Friday evening, Saturday and Sunday. So we train just on a Tuesday where you do skills and gym. And then yesterday we had a speed session to do. So 2 sessions then during the week. Thursday's off, and then we're in Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it is a quick turnaround. And then on a Sunday evening, I do my podcast. And then it's Easter holidays. So I'm on my teacher holidays, which is great, ahead of the Six Nations. So really, really ideal prep, if I am selected, which would be amazing.
Tell us a little bit about your ambassadorship with NOCCO and how you incorporate NOCCO into your kind of daily routine.
Yeah, so look, when Beck messaged me about getting involved with NOCCO, I was so happy about it. Like I genuinely love the products, and I think they would have been something that I wouldn't have looked at. Like I think you associate it with like an energy drink and like full of sugar and no nutritional benefits really, but like there is so much goodness in them. And I really do love them, and they have so many flavors. I would probably have maybe one a day that I'm training. And maybe like a low caffeine. I know this is caffeine free ones as well, and I'd have them maybe on the days that I'm just would want some BCAAs, like protein kicks. I'm pretty bad for getting enough protein into me. It's definitely one of my work-ons is getting more protein into me. But the no caffeine ones are great that way. So the flavors are amazing. You wouldn't even know like that they taste so great, and then you're like, how are these so good? But they are really, really nice.
Yeah, some of them are really nice.
They really are. So I'm so happy that like they're kind of coming into more shops as well. Like they're in Dunn's now. And, like you see them and you're like, oh great. Maybe it's because my eye they're like, I know them now that I'm looking at them, seeing them more often. But it is great that they're more readily available across the country. But I often bring like crates of NOCCO to training for the girls, and it's genuine. Like I genuinely get texts beforehand to be like, can you save me a can of NOCCO in case that they don't get there in time, because they go like gold dust. And like I said, it's some of the girls that don't drink coffee, who wouldn't know what it's like, and they are obsessed with it. So there's often competitions. I actually ran a competition at Christmas time for giving away NOCCO and a Gym Plus coffee voucher, and the rugby girls, I don't know how one of the rugby girls didn't win, and I was almost convinced. I was like, when I do this draw now, one of the rugby girls will win and people will think it's fixed. But they genuinely they probably entered like 300 times. If there was 400 comments, 300 of the rugby team, they loved them. And then I think Aoife McInhan out to the other girls, they ended up winning another NOCCO competition last week. So this just shows how much they love them. And yeah, I'm glad that I introduced it to them. But similarly, they would never have gone for it in the shop until I introduced it to them and gave it to them. They're like, oh, these actually are really nice and have great nutritional value as well.
Yeah, no, it's the getting into Dunn's and everything as well. Like there's so much more available now, and they're expanding like throughout Ireland and stuff, which is, like you're saying, I know obviously your eye is trained to look for them, but definitely they're getting out there a lot more across the country. So I think people will go out and pick them up and try them. In relation to your favorite flavor, have you a top 1 or top 2 favorite flavors?
Yeah, I absolutely do. Like they change. Like at the start, I loved the limited ball one, and then I think I drank that way too much. And I'm obsessed with the ice soda. That's my favorite one of the caffeine flavor. The elderflower one is lovely for the caffeine-free flavor as well. But I'm currently sipping on an apple flavor, and it's pretty nice as well. So
yeah.
They have loads, like there's red berries, that was my recent one. The pineapple flavor is nice.
I think that's what I have here.
Pineapple and carrot. Yeah, the packaging is so nice on them too that you're like, ooh.
Yeah, no, the branding is really good.
So yeah, it's tough.
Tell me a little bit about the Punditry. How are you enjoying it, and how did you even get into it, I suppose?
Oh God, you know what? When I went to UL for college, I was really stuck between, I wanted to be a PE teacher, full stop. That was literally all I wanted to do for my whole life, was be a teacher. And you had to do a subject with it. So I was like, I liked Irish in school, but I wasn't like amazing at Irish in school. And I was also kind of stuck between, did I want to be a PE teacher or a primary school teacher? So my mom, and you know, your mothers are always right, and this just proves it, always right. She was like, look, just do Irish with your PE, and then that way, you know, you can keep your ear in with the language if you want to go back and do primary teaching, if this is something that you don't want to do. I was like, right, okay, whatever. And like college Irish was so difficult. It was just like, oh, literature. And I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to manage this. But eventually got it finished. Never thought I'd ever like use Irish again, apart from in like my teaching world. I was like, I just want to teach PE. I don't even want to teach Irish. I just want to be a PE teacher. Ended up getting a PE and Irish job, and I've been teaching PE and Irish since. And I don't even know how it happened, but just someone from TGCAR obviously heard out that I had Irish, and I think they were looking for a female athlete, because the 2020 kind of the lead up to 2020 campaign. So female athlete that knows rugby, that has Irish. I suppose there isn't, you know, that many of us out there, but there's more and more coming now, and it's great to see. But I think it was just like right place, right time. And yeah, my first game, I think I got like 3 days notice about doing my first game, and it was a Munster game down at Independent Park in Cork, and I'll never forget driving down. I was so nervous because I had no idea. I'd never watched TV before. I never analysed a game before, and I definitely hadn't analysed a game in Irish. And it's completely different to like the stuff I teach in school is about poetry and about essays and the state of the health system. Like that's the vocabulary that I know, as opposed to lineouts and scrums and knock-ons. It was like a completely new dictionary to learn, and I didn't know it. So I was like studying the whole way down in the car. But look, I got through it. It is really enjoyable. Maura Trassa is an absolute hero. She's so amazing at what she does. Presenting makes it so easy for you, and the lads are great as well. And it is really, really enjoyable to do. Can't do a lot of it because of our scheduling with the training at the moment. Obviously we'd love to be doing the Pro 14 final at the weekend, but we're training as well. So you can't do everything. You have to just pick and choose. There'll be plenty of times when I can do it, but it's opened up so many doors to me that I never even, like I said, rugby wasn't part of my plan. Punditry wasn't part of my plan. The podcast wasn't part of my plan. And it kind of just all happened from by luck. Like, I don't know, is it luck, or is there someone looking out for me out there? I don't know what it is, but a lot of hard work, and with both the podcast and the rugby, there's quite a lot of homework to do for it, and a lot of analysis. And often, like Dean, my fiance, will be like, why are you watching another rugby match? Like another rugby match on a Friday night. And like even last weekend, I watched all 3 rugby games on Saturday. I think it's homework. It's part of my job. Like I can get away with saying that, because it is, in fairness, I do need to be able to talk about it. And I feel like all I do is talk about rugby, which is like my life, which is great.
Yeah, no, it's definitely great to get the experience. And as I said, like there's obviously lots of time for that in the future. So even to kind of dip your toe in now, will definitely bode well as you go forward. Obviously the Six Nations is just around the corner. So how excited are you and the rest of the team to get back playing?
Yeah, like it's, as I said a while ago, it's been such a long time to played. And again, we're lucky to be able to play games and have games in the calendar. You know, if I'm lucky enough to get selected, it will be such an amazing honor. And I think that, like I've said it before, with the pandemic, it made you realize, like you never think your last game is going to be your last game for Ireland, whether it's through injury, whether it's through retirement, or whether it's through a pandemic. Like nobody saw this coming. But similarly, nobody sees an injury coming, or a life or a career-threatening injury, or even like you could be dropped. Like if if your form isn't good and you're dropped and you don't put on a green jersey again. So, you know, if I could rewind the clock a little bit, I think I would have, you know, just really appreciate putting on the green jersey, because it is such a special experience. And, you know, we're having such a good campaign last year. Like I know we lost to England, But that second half, you know, they didn't score a try against us. Like the reigning Six Nations champions, not to score a try in 40 minutes against us. Like we just had pride in our defence that day, and that was something that brought us through last year's Six Nations. And it just, you know, if you win your defence, you win the game. And it proved that way in the Italian game, and proved that way in the Welsh game and the Scottish game. And, you know, we were having such a really good tournament that you just want to go back and play and cherish the green jersey if you do get that opportunity. I think that's one thing that if I do get it back, I will think of all the runs and think of all the sessions you have to do in the early mornings. And if this year's taught me anything, I would never make it as an individual athlete. And I'm glad I didn't go down the route of athletics, because, oh my God, like it's just so, like we have our GPSs, and in fairness, I suppose that's one way of being us tracked, and it's more like a motivator as well and make you accountable. But I don't know, sometimes if that wasn't there, I don't know, there's days that you just question, like, why am I doing this? And then you're like, no, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to be out there singing Around Naveen with the girls beside me and singing Ireland's Call, because like they are the moments that, and people often wonder, why do you do it? And it's really hard to explain, because, you know, we're amateur, we don't get paid for it. We all have full-time jobs. But I think it's just the pride it genuinely is. And this year has taught us that, like, it doesn't come around very often, and that something as simple as an injury or a pandemic or, you know, being cut, it could be your last time putting the jersey on.
We've definitely noticed some very committed people to the anthems, and we know that Anna has a lot of passion when it comes to that.
I think Anna has that award well won, for sure. She's a fan of her songs and a fan of the singing, but like,
she's brilliant.
Amazing. So good. And she's playing with her ukulele as well. But like,
she's so funny.
The national anthems, like whatever key they're at, oh my God, they're awful. Like they are genuinely awful. And I don't know, is it Ireland's Call? I think it's Ireland's Call. It starts off fine, but then when the key changes, it's like a whole different level of singing. And you often catch myself and Lauren Delaney like laughing in the anthems, because like she'll always start on a lower octave and I'll attempt the higher octave, and it just never goes down well. We'll have to sort that.
Very good. World Rugby have announced the new 15s competition. What do you think that means for rugby going forward?
Yeah, like I think it's great that there is a global competition. Like it's such a positive step for women's rugby and to make that global calendar. And I suppose it just puts more focus on the Six Nations and the importance of the Six Nations, and to have that amount of games in your calendar, it's just so exciting. So I think it's 2023 they're planning on it, on implementing it. So that would be, it's such an exciting chapter to be involved in women's rugby.
Yeah, and we even saw that there's going to be fantasy rugby for the Six Nations, so that's something that I think people can get involved in, and it'll also, I think, help bring exposure to female athletes and that type of thing, getting to know people, and really give people a vested interest in getting involved. So hopefully more eyes will come to the matches and that.
I didn't even know that, actually. That's so exciting.
No, we saw in the last few in the last couple of days, so it's something that we're going to try and really promote and stuff, just because obviously people will be watching the matches anyway, but if they have that little bit, how everybody is about like fantasy football and they get so into it, so we'll be encouraging people to get involved in some way to really get to know the team, get to know the players, that type of thing. But I guess the last question is what is it like having two incredibly talented athletes in the family? So obviously yourself and your sister have been flying it opposite sides of the world. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, like I'm super proud of Gaelic. Like it's she genuinely is a definition, and all the Australian girls, the girls in Australia are like the definition of living the dream, like getting to do what they do and like have the sunshine, train like professional athletes. And obviously with the visa restrictions over there, they can't work elsewhere, so their work is with the clubs. So they're essentially living like professional athletes, so like they're doing phenomenal over there. And like super proud of Eilish, and like it's their third season over there now, and it was such a big jump to take. Like she was, I suppose, unsure of what she was going to do, and then this opportunity came, and like even getting to be over, we went over for her grand final win in 2019 in March for the weekend, which was mental, but just sums up our family. So we flew over on a Thursday and we flew back from Australia on a Monday, but we wouldn't have missed the world, like mental. But she's doing really well. The team are doing really well, and the Crows are in the finals, I think, at this stage. So they're in a good position. I think this weekend's game will determine where they finish in relation to that table. But yeah, like Eilish, like I don't think I'd be where I am without her, and I don't think she'd be where she is without me either. Just from like what I said about playing at home together, and like she was always the really skillful one who would like make you practice your left leg, or who would make you like do ridiculous tricks and like always be messing. Because I'd be like, no, just catch the ball and hit it over. Like she'd be like trying to like do solos and tricks and flick it. So she was always really skillful. And actually it sickens you because like I spent I think this year during the lockdown, I was like, I'm going to work on stuff I'm not really that good at. So I was like, I'll work on my kicking, and I was like, I'll just do like some place kicks, which like I never do, and I never will do in a game. So I don't even know why I did it. Like, I was missing them, like, and I couldn't get it over the bar. And she's like, well, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm just taking some kicks. She just like puts the ball down the tee, like takes 2 steps backwards and like knocks it over. And like she's just talented, like so ridiculously skillful. Like her kicking ability, her skills is just like when you break down her fundamentals, like she's so skillful. Whereas like I'm not like that at all. Like I have to work really, really hard at something. So we're polar opposites as people, even though people might think we are this, like, you know, we both play at a high level in sport. We're polar opposites in everything we do.
Well, it's brilliant to have you both as role models for young girls and boys, and obviously anybody that's interested in sport. Thanks a million for taking the time to chat to us. I think there was lots of good conversation in there, and wishing you the best with rugby, and hopefully we'll see you on the pitch for the Six Nations.
Great, thanks so much.